Hello. Magandang gabi po mga katipon sa Pilipinas. Ito po ang ating katipunan. Muling sumasa inyo mga tagapakinig upang magbigay ng mahalagang impormasyon, magbigay liwanag at higit sa lahat makinig sa inyong mga daing at puro-puro hinggil sa mga problemang patuloy na nagpapahirap sa ating kalagayan at kabuhayan. Sa susunod na 2 oras, sisikapin po namin ipaliwanag ang iba-ibang bahagi ng ating ekonomiya at ang mga mabibigat pang local and international issues na may malaking epekto sa ating buhay at kinabukasan. Ito po ang inyong katipon na si Butch Valdes, kasama ang iba pa nating mga katipon dito. Nandiyan po si Itos Valdes na co-host ko. Nandiyan din co-host ko si Cathy Cruz at si Vera Archibito. Kaming lahat po nandito sa Save the Nation Movement, the Philippine LaRouche Society at the Katipunan ng Demokratikong Pilipino. Kami pong lahat dito ay nag-aanyaya sa inyo na makibahagi sa ating talakayan sa pagsusuri ng mga kasalukuyang problema at paghahanap ng kaukulang solusyon.
Okay, magandang gabi Professor Butch at syempre sa lahat ng mga masugid na taga-subaybay ng ating katipunan, no, Professor. At sa lahat po ng ating mga kababayan sa ibayong dagat, ano man po ang inyong ginagawa, saan man po kayo naroroon, halina po kayo at samahan niyo po kami ni Professor Butch Valdes dito sa ating palatuntunan ng ating katipunan. At 2 oras po ito na magsasama-sama po tayo at nawa ay marami tayong matutunan, malaman sa mga sasabihin po ni Professor Butch at syempre mga katanungan mula sa mga kasama po natin sa Zoom. Ito po ang inyong lingkod, Cathy Cruz, na inyo po makakasama sa loob po ng 2 oras. Professor?
Okay. So, thank you, Cathy. At nakikita ko, andito na yung ating mga kasamahan. Normal na nandiyan si Carlo, andyan din si Mr. Johnny Ventosa at siguro pa mayroon pa lang mga kasama mamaya. No? Si Itos palagay ko habol na rin yan. No? Marami tayong pwedeng pag-usapan. Hindi natin siguro iwas dito sa magkomento tayo dito sa first 100 days na survey na lumabas dito sa 100 days ng ating Pangulo, no? Na nagpapakita na sa mga iba-ibang mga kategorya, no? Nandiyan siya sa 60%, 55%, 57%, which is very good, no? Very high in the satisfactory rating that he got. That siguro naman dapat natin bigyan ng konting how to say leeway, no, in not being very strict in terms of looking for very favorable results, no? However, hindi natin maiwasan na yung lahat 60%, 65%, pero pagdating sa alleviation of poverty at pagdating sa inflation rate at kasama na dyan ng pagtaas ng halaga ng bilihin, napakababa po, bagsak po sa 30%. Siyempre yung mga mamahayaga hindi nila binibigyan ng highlight ito, pero klarong-klaro po, no, na ang laki ng parang disappointment ng publiko, 30% na lang ang favorable sa kanya. Pagdating dito sa alleviation of poverty, ano ba yon? Creation of jobs, siyempre, no? Mga konektado yan sa kahirapan. Tapos yung pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin, hindi ma-arrest ng ating pamahalaan. No? Pagkatapos, pero nagbigay ng pahayag ang ating Pangulo, dito ako nagugulat. Sa kanyang pahayag, ang malaki ang kumpiyansa niya na ginagawa niyang tama ay sa pagtatarget ng mga economic targets niya o pagpapahusay sa ating ekonomiya. No? Parang taliwas yata yan, no? Dito sa nakikita nating resulta ng survey, no? Tungkol dyan. Unless, ang ibig sabihin ni President Marcos na yung economic targets niya ay hanggang doon na lang sa statistika. Mga 7%, 6% growth rate, GDP, so on and so forth. No? Pero pagdating sa pagtaas ng halaga ng bilihin, which is inflation, no? Hindi konektado yun. Doon palagay ko nagkakaroon ng problema. No? Ang paningin ng tao hinggil sa ekonomiya ay ang kanilang kabuhayan, kalusugan, at ang kanilang kahirapan na makakain ng gusto at mabili ang mga pangangailangan nila. No? Yun ang tingin ng mamamayan pagdating sa ekonomiya. Mukhang pagdating sa ating presidente, ang tingin niya sa ekonomiya, 6% growth rate. No? At kung ano pang ibinubuhos sa kanyang statistika nila Ben Jokno at ang kanilang economic managers. Yung pong statistika, hindi nakakain ng tao yan. Tsaka ang dali-daling mag-magic dyan sa mga statistics. Napakadali. No? Ang hindi mo pwedeng burahin, no? Ang kagutuman ng tao, tsaka yung problema nila sa kalusugan dahil hindi na sila makabili ng gamot at ng tamang masustansyang pagkain. Yan ang aking initial comments hinggil dito sa lumabas na survey hinggil sa first 100 days ni Presidente Marcos. Unless meron po kayong ibang gustong idagdag, Cathy, gusto mo magdagdag ng komento dyan?
Later na lang, Sir Butch, pero mayroong katanungan kanina pa nagtataas ng kamay itong si Carlo.
Sige. Okay.
Okay mga kabansano, magandang gabi po. Babati na muna ako at may tatanong na rin. At may idadagdag pa diyan kay Professor Butch. Magandang gabi po mga kabansa at sa lahat po ng mga nanonood sa amin sa Katipunan Channel at nakikinig sa radyo po. Sama-sama tayo dito ulit sa ating broadcast na ito, no? At makinig sa ating Zoom discussion po. Babati na ako ng good morning. Ng good day po sila Ms. Chat Kaidar at Ma'am Marilyn Yan at si Papa natin mga kabansa kinakaado at sa iba't ibang mga kabansa sa Pilipinas. At maidagdag na rin ako dyan, no? Dapat din tinitignan ng mga nagsisurvey na ito, itong mga nakaka-apektong issue din sa bakuna at sa iba pa mga dapat na bantayan din. Yun po isang indagdag ko dyan. Babalik na ako mamaya-maya.
Bakuna na naman.
Okay. Salamat, Carlo. Gusto ko lang bigyan ng komento. Huwag na natin munang pag-usapan ng mga problema sa bakuna dahil nabigyan na kami ng warning ng YouTube na kakansilahin niya tayo dito sa ating stasyon kung pag-uusapan daw natin ulit ang mga bakuna. No? Wag na nating batikusin ngayon kung bakit tama ba yan o hindi. Alam natin mali yan, pero yun po ang pagpipigil ng mga kinaukulan na mapag-usapan yan. Ngayon, ang hindi maiiwasan ng ating pamahalaan at yung mga nasa Department of Health, no? Na parami ang mga insidente na umaabot sa kamatayan ang mga nababakuna. Yun lang ang sasabihin ko na habang parami yan, siyempre patindi ng patindi ang galit, hindi lang ng mga maliit na bahagi ng ating populasyon, kundi yung marami sa ating populasyon. Ang hindi nila nalalaman na ang kanilang sakit at ang kanilang pagbagsak ng resistensya para matamaan ulit ng COVID o ng flu o ng pneumonia o kung ano pang mga sakit ay dahil bumaba ang kanilang resistensya ng katawan at ang kanilang likas na kakayanan lumaban sa sakit dahil sa bakuna. Okay. At meron pa po tayong gustong sino bang andito? Itos, you want to say something?
Hello sa lahat ng tagapakinig sa Ating Katipunan. Good evening, Chairman, and good evening, everybody on the show. Yun lang, I've been less patient than chairman with our president kasi yung presidente po natin, the reason is yung mga nangyayari po sa buong mundo. So he has to move. He has to show that he is capable of leading this nation forward and saving the lives of our fellow Filipinos. Because it's not a joke po. It seems we seem to be stumbling into a situation that will be very close to World War III. There are forces that already are pining. Just this morning, may binomba na naman sa may Ukraine. It's a Russian bridge to Crimea, the longest bridge in Europe, one of the longest bridges in Europe. And binomba po yan. And this is Russian territory. So this is what's happening now. And it seems our president or our leadership has not made any comment as to the runaway inflation, as to what he plans to do in case this thing happens, in case because it affects the whole world. It is affecting the whole world, and not just our OFWs, but everybody here. So that's what I'm waiting for. I don't think we can wait another 100 days for us to decide who our next appointments will be, etc., etc., etc. Right now, the stock markets are on a free fall. Okay, the U.S. stock market just lost how many points? There's no commerce. Yeah, there's no commerce. It's not floating. There's no global commerce anymore. Everything seems to be on a standstill, waiting for something to happen. And it seems that humanity is blindly, willingly walking towards this. And anybody who claims that he's an expert and will give his assessment and does not have this in the context is either a fool or a liar, because this is the one and only issue that must be addressed today by our newly elected president. Okay, that's my comment, Chairman. Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Thank you, Itos. Well, tama, of course, itong mga observation mo, and I agree with them, Itos, na while the world is moving into a global economic collapse, because of the financials and so on and so forth, it's pushing the whole world into a major conflict. Itong conflict na ito, malamang maging nuclear conflict. Pero yung pag sinasabi natin major economic collapse, kaakibat dyan, nagwa-warn na rin ang Food and Agriculture Organization, which is tied up with the United Nations, na sinasabi nila magkakaroon ng global hunger and starvation. The world's production of food daw has dramatically dropped. And the present population of the world cannot be sustained. And many countries now will be suffering starvation levels. Okay. Hindi sinasabi kung kailan, pero nararamdaman na po ng maraming mga bansa yan. Dito sa atin, ang talagang isipin, etong superstar na economic manager ni President Marcos na si Ben Jokno nagbigay ng deklarasyon na that agriculture, what is agriculture? Food production. He said, agriculture is a sunset industry. It is a sunset activity of the economy. Meaning to say, pabagsak na yan, huwag na natin bigyan ng atensyon ang agriculture. Ito ang finance and economic manager na binibida ni Presidente Marcos. Nakakagulat na ganitong klaseng policy ang sasang-ayunan ni President Marcos. Bakit siya pa naging Secretary of Agriculture kung ang kanyang economic manager magsasabi, huwag nang bigyan ng masyadong pansin ng agriculture, sunset industry na yan. The position of government and in effect the position of the President Bongbong Marcos is completely opposite that of his parents, President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. and Imelda Marcos. If you will remember, Imelda Marcos spearheaded the Green Revolution, getting all agencies of government, getting the whole country to move towards production of food. Ito po yung Green Revolution. Para saan? So that we will be able to sustain ourselves. Tapos, dito sa kapanahunan ng kagutuman, sasabihin ni Ben Jokno, huwag nang bigyan ng pansin ng agrikultura. Ngayon, natutuwa ako na meron tayong panauhin dito who is the president of the Chamber of Production of Food.
Agriculture and Food.
And Agriculture. Mr. Danny Fausto. Magandang gabi sa inyo, Mr. Danny Fausto. And thank you very much for joining us, because your comments and expertise are going to be very much relevant to us tonight and for the whole country. Good evening, sir.
Magandang gabi po, Professor Butch, Valdes. Magandang gabi sa inyo lahat. Nahuli ko sa discussion, but tama po kayo, wala sa priority ni Secretary Joke. Nakakalungkot yung food production.
Sayang, Mr. Paudo, sandali lang. Yung audio mo masyadong mahina. Pwede kang lumapit siguro sa mic para maririnig ka ng ating mga
Kumusta po
kasama
ang audio ko yan? Kumusta audio ko?
A little better.
Mas may audio.
Yes.
Sensya na po ako'y kasalukuyan nungguhin na ako ni Cathy na biglang isanama dito. Okay. I agree with your observation regarding the priority of Secretary Joke. We have aired that concern in several fora. Sabi ko nga, ang priority niya ay sa BBB, yung kanyang health, which is okay, but wala yung pagkain. No? And
mahina pa po ang dating, sandali.
Mahina pa po ba? Siguro I'll log out and log in again. If you may, pwede po ba kayong mag-ano? Kasi may problema na yung aking internet.
Okay.
Lalag out ako at then log in. If you may, give me about 2 minutes.
Sige, well, sayang. In case lumakas ulit, maybe you can fix up the audio there. Sayang po ang mga sasabihin nyo eh. Hindi ko alam kung paano magagawa natin sa studio. Cathy, malalakasan ba natin yung audio ni Mr. Fausto?
Sir, tatry ko siya kasi sabi pwede raw pwede raw po siya cellphone para po
Okay.
mag-audio na lang po. Pwede ko po siyang tatry ko sir na tawagan.
Sige,
Tapos
pakitawag lang.
Sige po.
Pakitawag lang. Sabi mo, kung pwede siya mag-react doon sa pinag-usapan ko in opening ko about the food, no? Dahil grabe itong ginagawa ng economic manager ni Bongbong. Biro mong sabihin niya sunset industry na lang daw yung agriculture. Ang ibig sabihin niya, sa palagay ko, wag na tayong mag-isip mag-produce ng pagkain at gawin na lang natin na importers of food tayo, traders, meaning mag-i-import tayo tapos i-ano din natin, tawag dito, i-export din natin. Mag-import tayo ng manok, tapos iluto natin, tapos i-export natin. Ganyan. Yung mga ganyang klaseng pag-iisip. Remember the principle that we have always advocated. No country can call itself a nation which cannot feed its own people. Dito sa giniisip talaga.
Hello, Sir Danny. I-speaker na lang kita dito.
Okay. Andiyan na siya?
Sige, try po natin. Hello, Sir Butch.
Yes.
Inano ko na lang po sa sa cellphone po si Sir Danny. Nasa linya na po siya.
Sige, magandang gabi ulit sa iyo, Danny.
Pasensya na po kayo at medyo mahina yung aking signal dito pagka ngayong hapon. Natitirinig po ba ako?
Hindi mahusay masyado eh. No? Dahil
Subukan natin yung Cathy.
Sir?
Yung Zoom.
Zoom po. O, sige po, try niyo po uli yung Zoom. Sige, sir. Okay po. Try daw po niya uli sa Zoom, sir. Kasi maganda po yung yung talakayan. Tsaka alam niyo napakahalaga po nung marinig din po natin sa sektor talaga ng kumbaga lahat po kasi ng yung food chain nandito sa grupo ng Philippine Chamber of Agriculture and Food. And sinabi niya kanina, bagamat paputol-putol, pero sa pagkakaintindi ko sa kanya, Professor, ano po siya dun sa binabanggit po ninyo. Wait po i-unmute ko lang po si Sir Danny. Try natin.
Salamat. Can you hear me now?
Yes, better, much
I'm very
better.
sorry. Pasensya na po at anyway, na ako po'y sumasang-ayon sa inyong pananaw tungkol sa priority ni Secretary Joke, no? At kami rin po ay nababahala doon sa kanyang pananaw na yon. Ang iisip po natin yung kanyang priority na BBB, saka yung health, saka yung I think the third one is national security. Hindi ko po maisip kung paano tayo magkakaroon ng proper education, saka kung saka yung BBB kung wala po tayong pagkain sa sikmura, no? Kung nagugutom yung mga tao. Kaya siguro tuturuan po natin yung pamilya ni Secretary Joke na kumain ng karsada at ng tulay. Baka siguro masarap na ilaga yun sa kanya, no? Kami po yung nababahala dahil sa kanya pong departamento nanggagaling yung support, no, yung capital, especially access to credit. Siya may control ng Land Bank, PBB, Philippine Guarantee Corporation, Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation, na Coconut Levy Fund, RCEP, yung Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund. Kontrolado po lahat ni Secretary Joke niya. Yan po ang nagbibigay ng kapital sa ating mga magsasaka para masubukan natin at mapalawak ang ating produksyon. Si Presidente BBB po ay malaking bagay sa amin dahil just na mere presence ni President Bongbong, nagkaroon tayo ng 43% increase in budget. Without lifting a finger, kasi kami po ng mga the past decades, several decades, namamalimos po kami sa Kongreso para madagdagan ng budget ang Department of Agriculture. Now, the next thing to do, what we should do is really to yung implementation process, yung absorptive capacity ng kagawaran ng agrikultura. Dahil yung mga nakakaraan po nasa 60-70% ang absorptive capacity ng kasalukuyang organisasyon. At tayo po, nung mag-upo si President BBM, si President Bongbong, wala po at walang laman ang treasury. Naubos po noong panahon ni Duterte. Kaya for the next July to December, wala po tayong maasahan na talagang babagsak na maganda para sa agrikultura dahil walang pera ang tresurero. Naubos po lahat, na-obligate na lahat at na-spend na yung pera for the entire budget of 2022. So while we are waiting for the 2023 budget, ang dating po niyan, Abril pa. So from now to April, for the first quarter next year, we are up for a big problem. At sabay-sabay po yan, nandiyan na yung sinabi nyo kanina, nandiyan na pagtakas ng langis sa Ukraine war, nandiyan ang climate change, andiyan po ang mga problema natin at so, yung ating supply chain disruption, hindi naman po nakapatulos ng mahusay ang ating mga kababayan, mga magsasaka dahil for the past several decades, nakalimutan at hindi binigyan ng prioridad ang agrikultura. Kaya now what we are dependent on imports and the cost of importing products is now high because it's about almost 18-20% depreciation in peso. The importation really became higher, specifically mga inputs, fertilizer, fuel which you use for sa ating mga fishermen at sa ating mga irigasyon. Yan po ang tumatama sa atin. So we have finished the harvesting ang ating pong corn at rice September, October ang harvest. At pagdating po ng November, we will again magpupunla na naman po kami at hopefully makapagtanim kami ng December. Hindi ko lang alam kung may darating na ayuda sa fertilizer. But yan pong second cropping na yan, wet na dry season, we usually have higher yield because we can use high variety rice to produce that. On the part of the corn, ang problema po ng corn natin yung storage facility at post-harvest, yung ating dryer, because hina-harvest po ang corn natin ngayong September, October, which we supplied next 7 months, no? Basa po yung ating mais. So mayroong problem sa quality, aflatoxin and so on. 80% po ng ating mais goes to feed millers. So hindi po magko-qualify sa feed millers yan pagka hindi properly processed at maganda at tuyo. Kailangan po nila ng dryer, kailangan nila ng warehousing, na wala sila ngayon. So yan ang mga sa balakid. Pag wala po tayong corn, then we see a problem on poultry and livestock. Kaya po if you want to solve the problem of poultry and livestock, you have to solve the problem of corn. Yung rice tariffication law, tinayo ang NFA exclusively for rice, nakalimutan po yung corn. So dati may rice and corn administration tayo. Ngayon yung NFA rice na lang. So yung corn naulila yung corn. Tapos may darating tayong sa fisheries naman. May darating tayong fish ban by this November. Sa November 4 may fishing ban tayo sa Visayas Sea. November 15 that will be on Palawan area. December we will be in Zamboanga Peninsula and the ARMM. So ang magiging problema po natin, there's a looming problem now of sardines, which is a social product. Yan po ang kinakain ng ating mga kababayang mahihirap dahil mura pag hindi makabili ng manok o sardinas ang kinakain nila. At magkakaroon tayo ng looming shortage pag hindi natin nabigyan ng volume at makahuli ng tunay ang ating tamban. Yung tamban po, specifically tamban sa sardines. Dahil pagdating po ng December to February, may fishing ban. Yung commercial fishing naman from 15 kilometers from the municipal waters and beyond, yan po yung commercial fishing. Right now, the report of our members is that the catch went down by 40% and now this week it went down to 20%. So usually ang behavior ng tamban, ng sardines, it goes to the coastline because they follow the plankton, the food, which is on the coastline. So we will now be dependent on the municipal waters, the municipal fishermen. The municipal fishermen, hindi naman mo hinuhuli ang tamban dahil ang tamban ay makaliskis at matinik. Hindi po na palengke. So we are now working on, especially sa Zamboanga Peninsula, we're working on the local government units na trabahuhin lahat ng mga fishermen na may kontrata. They will have a PO. The canning factories will produce a PO para hulihin nila yung tamban. Para dahil pagka hindi nahuli yan, come January, February, kapos tayo sa sardinas. Ang manok naman, January to July, Professor Butch, January 416,000 metric tons ang binigyan ng permit ng manok. Hindi ko alam kung inihabol yan bago dumating pag umupo ang presidente, inihabol yung permit na yan. The 416,000 metric tons represents almost 34% of the projected production of chicken. And our chicken poultry growers can support 97 to 99% of the supply. And yet, they allowed 1/3 of the total supply to be imported. So what happened now, based on the report ng ating mga mga kasamahan, ayaw nila mag-load ng manok ngayon dahil pag nag-load sila, papatayin sila ng importation, cheap subsidized import of chicken, papatayin sila. So, it will slowly kill our poultry industry. Nagsara na ho yung karamihan ng mga member namin, ayaw na mag-load ng chicken. Antay muna nila itong kung ano mangyayari doon sa importation na to, which represents 1/3 of the total supply. But they can supply at 97 to 99% ang sufficiency level ng ating manok. Sa baboy naman, meron kami balita, hindi pa naman makwento, pinaimbisigahan namin. There are about 1,700 containers that is in the ocean going to the Philippines na binili sa halaga yata na $50 to $1, $50 to 50 pesos to $1. Ngayon tumaas sa 59. Ang plano ng mga importer, huwag nang bayaran. I-abandon yung shipment. Pagdating dito sa Pilipinas, i-auction ngayon yan. Sila din naman ang bibili. Makatipid na yan sa taxes and so on. Yan ang mga problema natin hinaharap. Marami pa, no? I'm just telling you the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg. There's so many others. These are the things that we will face for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Hopefully next year, when the money comes, we will now looking after the implementation processes and the absorbing capacity of the Department of Agriculture. Yun lang po muna, Professor Butch.
Yeah. I said, hopefully, you said, hopefully, if we are still alive.
Maganda naman po at maganda sa diet natin yan. Magsisipay tayo ng konti. Maganda natin health.
Mr. Fausto, para bago po itanong yung mga katanungan ko, anong kaugnayan ng Philippine Chamber of Agriculture and Food sa ating Department of Agriculture?
Kami po ang private sector. We represent 48 agricultural sectors. Mga federation po, Pork Producers Federation, Hog Raisers Federation of the Philippines, United Broiler Raisers Association, Rice Millers Association of the Philippines, we have the salt industry, we have the sugar industry, we have the Philippine Association of Feed Millers. Lahat po yan member namin, pati moringa, kape, kakao, sili, pati ho yung ng Ricardo, kasama po natin, kompleto po ang aming tayo. Kami po, privado sector, kami po ang kulit-kulit dyan sa Presidente at saka sa
Agriculture. In other words, para din kayong source of information ng Department of Agriculture, di po ba?
Yes, because kami po yung nasa ground. Kami po yung nakatumpok sa putik.
Okay, dito sa nakaraan ilang buwan, kung kayo ang principal source of information ng Department of Agriculture, nabigyan na ba kayo ng meeting ni Presidente Marcos tungkol dito sa inaharap nating mga problema?
Opo, noong first week ng office, pinatawag na po ako, nag-usap kami doon sa opisina niya sa Malacanang. Nabigay ko po yung aming, kasi sabi sa kanya, sa dami na nakaikot sa'yo, boss, sabi ko, alam mo na siguro kung anong dapat gawin. Ang hindi ko nakikita, paano gagawin yung dapat gawin. So, isa-isa ko po sa kanya. I consistently give him an aid memo last week, pagdalawin mo, at pati yung mga suggestions for his consideration. Sa kanya po yun, kung susundin niya o hindi. But napakaingat po niya. He's very cautious. To make sure that yung mga bagay-bagay hindi mag-fail. So, maingat po siya. Gayon din siguro yung ginagawa niya sa pag-appoint ng mga officials niya. Maingat siya. Pati yung mga pronouncement niya. Except this, nung ginulo po namin ang sasukan, nandun na rin po kami sa asin. Pati yung asin. Inon na rin po namin yan. Ngayon isda, ginulo namin sa isda. At ang parating po, putok na malaki sa atin na nag-aalala ko yung seaweeds. Yung seaweeds po natin, which represents 1/3 of the total fisheries and aquaculture output of the country, seaweeds. And the main producer of seaweeds, the ARMM, which is the poorest of the poor, 45% ang ating poverty index ay ARMN. Pag nawala po ng livelihood sa siege yung mga ARMN, makakaasa po kayo katakot na kidnapping na naman po mangyayari.
Sa palagay nyo ba, dito sa meeting nyo with the President, Mr. Fausto, itunuturi niyang primary issue and problem ang pag-production of food dito sa ating bansa?
Opo. Number one sa kanya, ano yan? Number one sa kanya. Wala lang po sa akin na ang panawala sa kanya is isa talaga masyadong makagalaw. Napakarami niya ginagawa. At yung pag-mobilize ng pera, bukod na lang, uutang na naman siya para pondohan yung mga dapat pondohan. Lubog na tayo ang kanyang target, ang kanyang economic managers to bring down below 60% ang debt service GDP ratio. Which may be order. Wala kang pera hanggang December. At ito na, dumarating yung mga problema. Nung kami umaani last week, 2 weeks ago, sa pool kami sa Nueva Ecija na Carding. Mabuti naman at naka-recover kami after 2 days, medyo tumayo. So, we lost about 10-20% of our yield. Pero okay pa rin, hindi masyadong masakit. At tinamaan ang gusto ko sa Carding, yung mga poultry farms, yung mga bahay na manok talagang. At nagkasabay-sabay kaya bumaba ang presyo ng manok. Nagkasabay-sabay magbenta dahil walang kuryente. At 2 linggo na walang kuryente sa Nueva, sabay na Bulacan, sabay-sabay sila nagbebenta ng manok at mamamatay ng nila, walang kuryente. Yan ang problema.
Sa balagay
Very challenging po ang agriculture.
Yes, but it is not just challenging sa tingin ko, Mr. Fausto, because this has a direct bearing on the starvation or hunger levels of our people, di ba? Kinakailangan makapag-produce tayo ng pagkain na sapat para sa kalusugan ng ating populasyon. Hindi pwede angkat tayo ng angkat, no? Ang nangyayari ngayon, binubuksan nila ang ating agrikultura sa pag-aangkat. At siyempre, ang tatamaan dito yung ating mismong production. Nagbukas tayo sa bigas, siyempre, tinamaan ng ating mga rice farmers. Nagbubukas tayo ngayon sa chicken, tatamaan na ang chicken industry natin, no? At ang iba pa, parang bumabalik ako dito sa programa ni Benjok, no? Napakadaling patayin ng agriculture, Mr. Fausto. Kung ako nga yung finance, hindi ko na kayo bibigyan ng pondo. Papahirap kayo. Tapos,
siguro
magkakaroon ng natural attrition yan yung sector na yan, no? Habang ang ating Pangulo nagsasabi naman sa iyo na gusto niyang palaguin ang ating production, pero yung bata niya na si Jokno, pipigilan naman ng labas ng pondo para sa agriculture. Hindi ba ganyan ang nangyayari?
Qualified treason po yun.
Ha?
Qualified treason.
Yeah.
Qualified treason.
Sa akin, you don't qualify it anymore. It is really treason, no? Dahil, and we have to understand that that is what we're up against, no? Hindi pwedeng para tayong naglalagari tapos gusto natin yung kinakailangan natin gawin tapos parang bubulain lang tayo nitong mga economic managers ng presidente, no?
Kami po ang nasa ground, kami po nabubukunan. Alam po namin yung sumasapit sa amin kasi sarili po namin bulsa yan. Kami yung naghihirap ang makikinabang import traders at saka mga middlemen while our farmers are suffering and getting not the fair share of the price. For example, nung matapos ang kabing, sipin nyo ang tawad sa akin ang isang linggo, 12 pesos, 30 pesos per kilo. Samantalang NFA bumibili sa 19. A week before that, binibili ng 16 pesos sa kilo. Wala naman nangyari dito sa palay, parehas naman. At makikita nyo ngayon na Professor Butch, ang presyo ng tara, 23 pesos sa kilo. Isipin nyo, yung aking gusto ko na ibenta palay, gusto ko na ibenta darak ko lang. Mas mahal yung darak eh. Dahil mahal ang darak, ibig sabihin, walang darak, walang ginimil yung mga rice mill. Dahil po, ang ginagawa na bigas, so walang bumibili ng palay ng mga magsasaka. And that is now the problem. Napakataas na ng taba, ng bono, tama yung pangalan ng abono ang ginagawa ng nangyayari sa abono sa kapital.
Nailabas nyo na po yung problema. Sabi nyo pa, marami pang problema yan. Naunawaan ko naman po yan. Pero ano ang ginagawa ng Philippine Chamber of Agriculture para ilabas ang karaingan, no? Para manindigan para sa taong bayan, no?
Araw-araw po, kung babasahin niyo yung mga newspaper, kaya sa bayan sa Cathy, makikita niyo po araw-araw namumulaklak ang ating media sa ating mga hinaing. At nagme-memo po tayo, may memo tayo sa Presidente, may note tayo sa Presidente. Ganun lang po magagawa natin dahil kami po ay nasa pribadong sektor. At
yung salita ni Jokno tungkol sa agrikultura, hindi ba dapat panindigan ng chamber yan at to accuse him of qualified treason?
Medyo ang Secretariat po kasi ngayon ng Agriculture si Presidente. Pag sinabi po namin yung mga problema, pagkatapos yung kanyang Secretariat Finance ay hindi tinutupad yun, sinubira ng paraan ng ano. Sila na po siguro dalawa mag-usap dyan. At kami po mga negosyante kami. Alam niyo naman, pwedeng ipiting ka dyan.
Siyempre, alam nyo, negosyante nga tayo. Ako din, negosyante. No? Pero umaabot na po sa isang sitwasyon na kailangan maninindigan tayo. Kasi kung kaparis nitong sinabi ni Joke, no, at walang babatikos sa kanya dyan, no, publicly, no, makakalusot siya. At tutuloy-tuloy ang pagpupuri sa kanya ni Bong.
Siguro po, maganda, Professor Butch, umpisahan nyo.
Kaya namin umpisahan para magsalitang ganito at madalas na kami nagsasalita dito. Araw-araw, binabatikos ko yung mga kagagawa ni Joknong yan. Kasi linilin lang niya tayo tungkol sa ekonomiya. Wala siyang ginawa. Wala siyang ginawa kundi mag-manipulate ng interest rates sa pagmamanage ng ekonomiya. Tapos, hindi niya bibigyan ng pondo yung agriculture. Matagal na yan. Matagal nang ginagawa nila yan. Binabawasan ng suporta sa agrikultura. No? Dahil ang gusto nilang gawin, maging major importer of food tayo. Tapos, yung hindi natin makakain, pasukan natin para ma-export natin. Pero wag na tayo mag-produce ng food. No? Yan ang plano ng mga yan. Now, like you said, it is treason. No? Ngayon, ang problema, mismong presidente natin at karamihan sa mga mamamayang Pilipino, hindi nakikita ang kasamaan nitong si Jokno at ang kanyang mga kasama sa Kongreso at sa iba pang lugar. They don't see this. Ang kala nila, henyo itong si Jokno dahil 40 taon na daw siya nagsiservisyo sa gobyerno. Anak ng tinapa, yung 4 na taon niya, patuloy ang pagbagsak ng kalidad ng buhay ng Pinoy. Kasalanan niya. Tapos ang malaking katangahan, hindi makikita ng susunod na administrasyon, titingnan nila ulit yung nagturo sa UP, nag-graduate ng ganito at nagkaroon ng doctorate ganyan, yun ang gagawin nilang basihan sa pagpipili dito sa mga ano. Pero napakasama ng kanilang intensyon. Yung sinasabi natin, treason, is not...
Pero po, laki po ang negosyo ng importer sa mga dumarating ng panahon na ito. Kumikita po ng billion-billion ng importer at mga middlemen.
Ano yan?
At yung ating mga producer ang nagiging kawawa.
Alam nyo, kung magkakasama-sama tayo mga producers, maski na kami hindi naman food producer, no? Meron kaming kilusan, ang tawag Save the Nation Movement, no? Magsama-sama tayo at kung meron kang mga madadalang mga grupo, pwede natin i-organize yan, no? Kami magagawa ng mga deklarasyon. Pero huwag kayong mag-alala dahil kami sa Save the Nation, hindi kami komunista, wala kaming ideolohiya. Ang gusto lang namin tama ang patakaran para mabuhay ang mga mamamayang Pilipino. At itong mga nangyayari ngayon, tulad ng ngayong mga programang ilalabas nitong si Jokno sa darating na panahon, yung pag-aangkat ng 30% ng capacity of our production of poultry, ang laking kasamaan ng gagawin niyan. Magseserahan ng ating capacity to produce while he imports. Alam niyo po ba kung sinong kumikita pag importation?
Kilala po namin sila. Kilala po namin lahat yun.
Yung traders. Pero meron pang iba na kumikita dyan. Yung mga tahimik na nasa kabinete ng gobyerno, hindi naman trader. Pero siya ang nagbukas ng bansa para mag-angkat tayo nitong mga ito. No? We have to stop this. And ako, nagugulat nga ako dahil ang lumalabas na patakaran ng ating gobyerno ay taliwas dun sa pinanindigan ng ama ng ating presidente. He wanted to be able to have a producer economy, whereas this one wants to open the country, no? And we will not produce anything. Ano bang nangyayari dito? Gumawa tayo ng Green Revolution so that we got all of our people to start producing food. But now, what is happening? No? We're veering away from the production of food. And yet, food is what will sustain our people. Di ba? Kung gutom sila, magkasakit, patay na. Patay na ang bansa natin. We have to collectively work together, Mr. Fausto, para hindi tayo parang ano tawag dito? Don Quixote. Hindi tayo parang kailangan magsama tayo. At lalong-lalo na sa mga organisasyon tungkol sa katulad po ng inyo. No? Alam ko po nagtatrabaho kayo at you're businessmen and so on. And we're all businessmen. I myself, I'm a frustrated farmer. No? I know what you're talking about rice milling and corn and so on and so forth. And I know that these are all problems. What you had articulated were problems since time immemorial. No. But when I'm talking maybe about 30, 40 years. Prior to that, we were moving towards production economy. Now we are no longer producing. We are a service economy. Ito po ang nangyari sa atin. Mas nag-export po tayo ng tao kaysa gumawa ng pagkain para sa kabuhayan ng taong bayan. Yun lang
one of the major source of employment is agriculture, and as a matter of fact, during the pandemic, it was agriculture who saved the employment. And 25% of our employed people are in agriculture. If we include the value chain, supply chain, we should represent something like 50 to 2/3% of the total employment. Yung lahat po ng mga OFW, saka yung yung OFW is not a solution to employment. It is a symptom of a problem.
That's right.
That is causing social implications. You leave the children taking care of children to the state which is not capable of taking care of them. Anyway, so therefore, agriculture really will be the salvation for all. But kanya-kanya pananaw dyan sa kabinete. Kami naman po, tuloy-tuloy ang pagsabi sa presidente at pagtuloy sa rin. At as a matter of fact, titignan niyo po yan, nakababasa kayo ng lahat ng print and broadcast media. Maridinig po kami doon. Kaliwat kanan po. Lahat po ng sektor, pinagsasalita namin. Ngayon nga po, sabi ko nga, you see, it will suffer the same fate as coconut oil in the United States where we lost our export. Because next year, there will be a review. There will be a review of cities removing carcinogen as an organic raw material. So that will destroy our market of $500,000 export market.
Mr. Fausto, sa susunod na makausap niyo ang presidente, sabihin niyo ng diretso, Mr. President, ang problema yung finance manager ninyo. Ang problema itong si Jokno. Diretsuhin na natin. Tapos, siyempre, wala siyang magagawa kundi makinig sa inyong karaingan. Sabihin natin, ang posisyon yan, agriculture, dapat hindi na tayo mag-produce ng pagkain. Di tanong niya kay Jok, sinabi mo ba yan? Yan ba ang gusto mong mangyari sa ekonomiya natin? Para mahalaga.
Mahirap po na hanap tayo ng gulo dyan. Kailangan po, tumulong na lang tayo sa presidente. Sabihin natin yung problema at siya na mag-isip na talagang kung saan na doon ang problema at solusyon. Kasi yung mga solusyon po namin nire-recommenda sa kanya, nasa sagasaan po lahat yung sinasabi niyo. Hindi na po namin sinasabi kung anong departamento kasi sunod-sunod po yan. Department of Finance po may hawak ng customs. Ang smuggling natin hindi matigil-tigil. Papasok ang bigas natin, ang deklarasyon sa isang container, 380 kilograms. Pero ang laman ng isang container, 500. Yan ho, 100% yan. Nangyayari. Ang 5% broken and 25% broken is that sa ating mais, ang ating onions, ating sibuyas, bawang, lahat po. Hindi ko maisip paano kayo magigisa wala kayong bawang sibuyas, wala kayong asin. Yung asin, 93% ng asin natin, ini-import natin. We have one of the longest shoreline in the world. Nag-import tayo ng asin.
Pero yan ang problema, Mr. Fausto. Lahat tayo gustong tumulong kay Presidente. At gusto natin pakitaan na paano natin gagawin mas mahusay ang production. Pero kung yung tao niya, magiging stumbling block dyan, walang mangyayari po sa atin. At kung hindi nalalaman ng presidente na yun ang stumbling block, wala ang mangyayari. Gusto sabihin, mag-surrender na lang tayo kay Jokno at ibigay na niya natin sa kanya ang bansa. Kasi siya ang gumagawa ng paraan para magutom ang mamamayan ng Pilipino. Nakikita po natin yan. No? Nakikita klaro natin. Pero pag nag-ano tayo, nagpigil tayo sa sarili dahil ayaw natin masaktan ang mga sensibilities. Takot tayo, baka magalit ang presidente.
Hindi po.
Ako po.
Laban po natin issues, hindi po personal. Issues
Hindi.
po.
Sa akin, I don't mean to go against you. In my feeling, I can discuss the issues, but it becomes personal because I know our people are dying because of this person. Then it has to be personal. We cannot close our eyes to this. No? And if the president will get angry because I stood up to say that his finance manager is blocking the development of the agriculture, no? Then he gets mad. So be it. But I said it already. No? Yun po ang kinakailangan nating lahat ngayon. So, and we have to work together. No? Hindi naman tayo mag-solid dyan eh. No? Hindi ba? Yun lang.
Sinasabi po natin na mga departamento involved sa mga na personality running that department. Nasa sa presidente na po yun kung ano decision. Well,
tama. Pero
kamukha po customs o DOST, Food and Drug Administration, pagkuha mo ng food safety. Nag-apply kami ng renewal May 2021. Sa awa ng Diyos, yung renewal namin, nakuha namin isang linggo.
Tingnan mo.
Ganon kabilis yung process. Tapos sa DTI, problema natin sa export. Problema, mag-export ka, mahihirapan ka para hindi ka makapag-export. Iba-iba po DNR, problema ng asin. Tapos yung list, ang kailangan na listahan na list, hindi bibigay. Yung asin bifar. Yung mga bagay na po na yan, talagang kung pagsasama-samahin po natin, talagang hindi tayo matutunawan sa ating hapunan.
Talaga, I agree. Maraming problema. At
isa po.
Pero ang
alam po ng presidente, I will continuously write him, and I don't know if basta as far as we're concerned, if in our mind, we have informed him. Whether he reads it or follow it, sa kanya po yun. Yun naman asukal, sinunta niya. Yung kasi hindi ng aksyon. Ngayon, tinitignan namin yung ibang yung manok, pasusunod ng puno ng 1,000. Tungkol sa manok, sa seaweed, sa problema na yan. Bamboo, dairy, to now, 43 years tayo developed in Philippine development, dairy development at 43 years ago. Hanggang ngayon, 1% pa rin na pinupagpus natin sa gatas. Isda, nako. 70% ng ating fingerlings ini-import natin. Yung bangus na yan, galing sa Indonesia, lahat ng fingerlings yan. Yun po, alam po natin yung mga problema at pinalarating namin. Sa dami ng problema niya, siguro mas magandang manood ng Grand Prix sa Singapore.
Well, alam nyo, kung hindi natin ilalabas yung mga yan, patuloy na lang yan. At ako din.
Malabas po.
Alam niyo po.
Pero so natin win-win. Whatever we can get. Ano taong puso dyan. So we'll have to do whatever we can to be able to get something for the agricultural sector. For the first time, we were able to get a good budget. The part of it now is the absorption capacity implementation process. Dahil alam nyo, sa Department of Agriculture, alam na gustong gumalaw. Pagka gumalaw ang mga tao doon na patataw sa Senado, hanapan ng butas at kakasuhan. Paano? Kung ikaw ang director doon, hindi ka rin gagalaw. Kaya mo lang mga matay ang tao. Nagtutongit lang mga tao doon sa DA.
Ayan. Well, that's exactly what's going to happen to us. We will be given crumbs and we will be happy with these things. And but the president, even if we want to help him, will eventually be dragged down by his people. No? If his people get away with it and they are not stopped, the only ones that can stop. The president has so many problems, and like you said, ang dami-daming problema, hindi kakayanin ng isang presidente yan. Pero meron isang etong mga problemang to, meron parang isang susi. No? Yung susing yun, pag hindi natin naayos, no? Patuloy ang problema. Ayusin natin yon, magkakaroon na tayong kakayanan para ayusin ang mga iba-iba natin problema. Ikaw na rin nagsabi, Mr. Fausto, na we need operating funds, and the operating funds have been consumed by the previous administration. Andiyan na tayo. No? Pero I am sure we have the funds. We continue to borrow. The one that tells you he does not have the funds is Jokno, because the president will ask Jokno, do we have funds for the agriculture? He says no. Tapos na ang boxing. Di ba? Yun ang nangyayari dyan. Pero do we have funds for other things? Yes. Yan ang nangyayari sa atin. Ako, there is no equivalent, no, to human lives. What is being done to us is almost genocidal. It is genocidal. Our economic statistics have gone awry. Kalokohan, kabulahan yung sinasabi nilang 6%. Yung pong sinabi ng World Bank tsaka IMF noong 2020 that our economy has dropped over the past years. The 2020 ito has dropped by 5%. Ang bigat po niyan because a drop of 5% of our economy from 2020 brought our GDP to the level of 2012. Now, if your economy went down to 2012 levels, and now you are trying to recover at 6 or 7% per year, you will not reach the 2020 level until maybe 20, 30 years. At that level, there has to be a leapfrogging. And agriculture is the main thrust of our survival. We have to fight for it. It is our lives that we're fighting for in food. Alam niyo po kami, sa grupo namin, Save the Nation, we said, ever since 2005, we must go into agricultural food production in all levels of food, and we must double, triple, or quadruple the amount of food that we can produce. Because if you produce a lot of food, even much more than you can consume, the prices of food will not be going up. On the other hand, lessen your food production equivalent to the demand, to be much less than demand, the price of food will continue to go up. And if they cannot afford, our people will get sick and die. This is clear in the minds of people like Jokno. Because Jokno, as a matter of economic policy, feels that we are overpopulated and he must do something to cut down our population. That is Jokno. You look at all of his economic programs, 5-year development program, 6-year development program, yung mga ginawa niya. Number, palaging nandyan, overpopulation problem. Palaging nandyan. So, kung ganyan ang problema niya, paano mo lulutasin? Dapat by production. Hindi, siya cut down on population. But, you know, condoms and birth control pills are not enough. Even the COVID is not enough. He will use economic programs and policies to lessen your population. He knows exactly what he is doing. And we must wake up to that. And it is sad, that, the congressmen, the senators, nothing. You don't get anything from them. Hopefully, we wanted to see a president that will be reacting to it. If he had at least the common sense of his father, he will be moving towards production economy. Instead, sabi nila, he wants to be his own man. So gusto sabihin, he was veering away from the legacy of his father, which is such a pity. Because his greatness, his Bongbong's greatness, will be to follow that legacy and see its completion, since it was interrupted by 1986. That is the sad commentary of today. And when we are holding such positions here, Philippine Chamber of Agriculture, or in our case, Save the Nation Movement and many other organizations, we have to recognize who the true enemies are. The enemies are not the opposition. The true enemies are not even the communists. They're just what you call irritants. The true enemy of our people is a flawed economic policy. An economic policy that is designed to kill population. Yan ang tunay na kalaban ng bansa.
Well, kaya Professor Butch, nakakalungkot na Professor, yung ganyan yung nangyayari habang ang buong mamamayang Pilipino ay aligaga sa paghahagilap ng makakain, na talagang hirap na hirap po, hindi lang sa patuloy na pagtaas ng gasolina, mga bills, kuryente, tubig. Etong pagkain ang isa sa talagang masasabi kong matindi ang impact nito. Kasi ang nito ay talagang dire-diretsong kamatayan eh. Yung posibilidad na magkaroon ng sakit yung ating mga kababayan. Kaya makikita mo, Professor, ang dami pong nagugutom ngayon. Mas marami po, umakyat po yung mga bilang po talaga na namamatay. And sabi mo nga, Professor, hindi naman sasabihin na yung cause ng sakit o cause ng pagkamatay ay kagutuman . iba ang nakalagay doon sa kanilang death certificate, di po ba? Pero nagsusumigaw ang katotohanan na maraming mamamayan ngayon ay talagang makikita mo ang kanilang mga kalusugan deteriorated, hindi lang dahil sa stress, kundi dahil dito sa talagang yung kakayahan na mapakain ng buong pamilya. Yun ang matindi sa lahat. Anyway, by the way, si Sir Johnny Ventosa ay may nais itanong dahil kanina pa siya naka-raise hand. Professor Butch.
I'm sorry. Medyo napahaba yung salita ko. And I appreciate, of course, nagpapasalamat ako kay Danilo Fausto dito sa kanyang comments, and I hope he will stay on until we can continue to discuss these things. Yeah, Johnny, go ahead.
Don't apologize, Butch and Mr. Fausto. You're really giving us a good picture of what's really happening. My point is, and I hope Itos will support me here. My point is that there is tremendous news. You may call it rumors from the internet that there will be a global shortage of food. Yeah. And as you were saying, Butch, this is really a work being done by the mafia that wants to depopulate the earth.
Yeah.
And I'm asked my question really right now. I'm addressing it to Fausto. Fausto, what is going to happen to us? Are you preparing for this shortage, or are you waiting for it to happen and then work on it? I'd like to. We shouldn't be listening to mainstream media because they're not even mentioning the shortage. They want to keep it a secret. But there is going to be a shortage. Where are we going to be?
That's right.
That's my question, really.
Yes, Mr. Fausto, go ahead.
Sir Danny?
Yes.
Ayun.
Narinig
ayaw ko pagsalitain ni Cathy. Ayaw ko i-mute. Naka-mute po ako. Pasensya na kayo. Hindi ako makapasok at yung host ay ayaw kong i-allow.
Sige po.
Ayaw ko pagsalitain. Salamat po sa tanong niyo, Mr. Bertosa. Well, the reason why we are proactive. We are proactive because we are in business. We plan our business. We have our goals. Manok, baboy. Ang baboy naman nagsa-stabilize na isda ang magiging problema. Papunta tayo sa problema sa isda. Dati, 1990, we have about 150,000 banyera pumapasok sa nabotas. Lately, masaya ka na sa 5,000 banyeras na nasa umadaong araw-araw sa nabotas. That shows the commercial fishing is dying. So, but we are a nation of islands, and our comparative advantage really is fisheries and aquaculture. That is where we can fight because our neighbors, they do not have wala sila tubig. We have a lot of bodies of water, both aquaculture and for aquaculture and fisheries. So we need to have more of the mariculture parks, the fish cages, but we need to produce our own fingerlings. Anyway, we know that we all our sectors, the Pork Producers Federation, the UBRA, United Broilers, Egg Board, pati itlog, pati yung layer, pati yung bigas. We know what's happening, but the policy, we really have to do something about the policy of importation because we have to allow import to be able to bridge the gap of some supply gaps, no. But for example, if you need 100,000 metric tons of chicken, ang pakiusap po namin, 80,000 lang ipasok mo para yung 20,000 you allow pork producers, poultry producers to expand, no. Pag hindi ganoon ang ginawa mo, paliit yan, kung ipapas mo 100, kailangan mo 100, paliit yan. Because whatever volume that is coming in, once a chicken comes, whole chicken, wala nang bibili ng day-old chicks, walang kakain ng feeds. Pag walang feeds, walang bibili ng corn. Wala na yung chicken dressing plant, yung mga cold chain, yung supply chain. 85 billion business yan. Yung ano na yan, yung sa yung wala nang isaw na kita barbecue, that's a 15 billion business. Yung isaw-isaw na yan, yung mga chicken na atay at balon-balon na barbecue na yan, malaking negosyo yan. Wala lahat yan dahil nagpapasok ka ng chicken. Ganun din ang itlog. Ang layer, 14 months ang turnaround yan. So we expect poultry to recover sometime first quarter of 2024. We know what's in store. At the end of the day, pagka kami pong mga producer, nag-produce na pagkain para sa sarili namin, bala na kayo sa buhay niyo. Sabi, kami mabubuhay. Hindi ko alam natin mga kababayan. Pagka kami mamamatay, we will just produce our own food.
Mahirap yan. Anyway, Professor, gusto ko lang i-recognize po yung mga kasama natin dito sa Zoom. Of course, si Johnny nandyan. Nandito rin si Miguel Colom and VS Perdigon and M. Ever. Yan. At si CGB, nandyan din po siya. Of course, si Itos nandyan sa linya natin. So Itos, baka po may gusto rin po kayong i-share, sabihin sa atin, Sir Itos.
Thank you, Cathy. Thank you, Mr. Fausto, for joining us tonight and enlightening us also of how it really works. Yes. But again, I must emphasize, I agree with my father that until and unless patriotic forces here in the Philippines get together, wala po mangyayari dyan. And I know talagang different sectors, matagal na kayo lumalaban for certain things and for the good of the country, and it's frustrating. Kaya nagiging parang kung ano na lang makuha natin. Small victories and let's see what happens, but matindi talaga kalaban, but until and unless those forces unite, wala talaga mangyayari. And again, from a comment of Mr. Ventosa, I agree. There is nothing that's being said here in the mainstream media about the crisis we're going to face in the near term. Malapit na ang pangyayaring yan. And it's a stark reality. And it doesn't seem like the president is interested or has given a clue that he is recognizing this crisis. Baka naman reactionary na naman. Sige, mag-produce tayo pag kailangan na. Pero like Mr. Fausto mentioned, if we depend on, if our country's subsistence is dependent on foreign forces, on foreign imports, if everything is dependent on that, maraming mamamatay. Marami talagang mamamatay at the risk of sounding, alarmist or that's the reality we're facing. Yan po ang katotohanan. Dapat dati pang nag-umpisa. Dapat dati pa. Para makita na po natin. Pag yan nag-disappear, because all countries will be needing food, why will they export food? To us, of all places. Your money is useless pag lahat ng tao gutom.
Correct.
Diba? Aanoin mo yung pera mo kung hindi makakabili ng pagkain. And then remember, I'd like to remind everybody, this has happened in the last century, the Weimar hyperinflation. Kahit ilang imprenta ng pera, nagdadala sila ng isang katutak na pera sa bakery, pero wala nang tinapay. Kasi wala na po nagpo-produce. Ang previous to that, lahat kasi ng ano nila, ini-import nila. Pag tumigil yan, wala na. Hindi mo makakain yung pera mo. Diba? So it's not money that's important. It's the ability of a country to feed its people that's more important. So that's where we all are. Until and unless the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, who also happens to be our president, realizes that and moves towards that. We are facing, and ang paggutom ng tao, you're facing a social crisis of scary proportions po. Hindi po you cannot stop them because gutom. Yun po nangyari. We have many examples po sa history that we can draw from na ganun talaga. Kahit anong sabihin mo sa kanya, hindi nyo makakain yung konsepto or ideas or principles. Pag gutom ang tao, yan ang very sensitive. Basic goods and services. So this is what we're facing now, and I don't see any of our leadership, not just the president, nobody from the Senate, from Congress. Our whole government is failing as we speak before our eyes. This is what the crisis we're facing. And everybody's still positioning. Sabi nga ni LaRouche dati, yung aming intellectual leader before. You're just exchanging seats on the Titanic. The ship is going down.
Sinking.
And you're lobbying for musical chairs on the Titanic. Sino makaupo sa first class? Sino makakatulog sa second class? Diba? When everything is going to go down. This is what's happening to the country. Kasi ES or Chief of Staff or kasi ito yung position or that position of what? Of a sinking ship. Yan po ang realidad natin. And the sad part is, sabi nga ni Mr. Fausto kanina, we had so many chances. We had so many chances and we can still do it. Except that we have to do it now. Sabi nga, there's a saying, a Chinese saying that you have to dig the well long before you get thirsty. Makes sense. Yun lang po ang comment namin. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sir Itos. And Professor Butch, alam mo, Professor, syempre ako, alam mo naman, I have 8 children to feed. And makikita mo parang lumalaki yung ulo ko. Parang in the next months, years, baka hindi lang, ngayon mismo, alam mo, parang iniisip ko, naku, mukhang kailangan ko na pumunta ng mga probinsya. Kasi dito sa Metro Manila, magugutom ang mga tao. Ganun na yung nasa isip ko, Professor, and I'm sure yung ating mga nakikinig ngayon sa radyo, sa DZXL 558 kHz, no, AM band, and dito sa social media, sa ating Partido KDP Facebook page and YouTube account. Ako, I'm sure na natatakot na rin sila, nagguguluhan sila, at nagagalit na rin sila dahil sooner or later yung looting, diba? Kita mo, ang krimen ngayon, grabe, umaakyat na naman. By the way, Professor, we have one participant on Zoom who's raising hand, si Miguel Colum. Miguel Colum, good evening. You have a question?
Yes, hello. Magandang gabi sa inyo lahat.
Oh.
How is everyone this evening?
Good evening.
Yeah, I would just like to talk a little bit about, if it's okay, what's happening with something that Putin said in his latest speech, and how it relates to an issue that I've been following for a while here in the Philippines. And it has to do with what they sometimes call the culture war issues. And if you follow any of the news in the United States, you can see that these culture war issues are usually used as a way to divide the population And things in America are extremely divided. Some people say it's almost to the point of a civil war in some ways. Right? So I would just like to read part of toward the end of Putin's speech, and then comment a little bit about what he said. So towards the end of his speech, he said, do we want to have here in our country, in Russia, parent number 1, parent number 2, and parent number 3, instead of mother and father? We want our schools to impose on our children from the earliest days in school perversions that lead to degradation and extinction. Do we want to drum into their heads the ideas that certain other genders exist, along with women and men, and to offer them gender reassignment surgery? Is that what we want for our country and for our children? This is all unacceptable to us. We have a different future of our own. This is a complete renunciation of what it means to be human. The overthrow of faith and traditional values, and the suppression of freedom are coming to resemble a, quote, religion in reverse, pure Satanism. Exposing false messiahs, Jesus Christ said, by their fruits ye shall know them. These poisonous fruits are already obvious to people, and not only in our country, but in all countries, including many people in the West itself. The world has entered a period of a fundamental revolutionary transformation. New centers of power are emerging. They represent the majority of the international community. They are ready not only to declare their interests, but also to protect them. They see in multipolarity an opportunity to strengthen their sovereignty, which means gaining genuine freedom, historical prospects, and the right to their own independent, creative, and distinctive forms of development to a harmonious process. As I've already said, we have many like-minded people in Europe and the United States, and we feel and see their support. An essentially emancipatory anti-colonial movement against unipolar hegemony is taking shape in the most diverse countries and societies. Its power will only grow with time. It is this force that will determine our future geopolitical reality. So it's something like this, what Putin says, that makes me think that he is the principal defender among world leaders now of Christian civilization. And I think that's something that Filipinos can look to as well, as Putin as this leader of against the decadence and the nihilism of the Anglo Empire, the globalists.
Yeah.
And I think it's providential that Putin is at this time the president of Russia, not somebody of a weaker character. And you can say the similar thing of Xi Jinping, that I think that if somebody else was president of Russia right now, we would already be in World War III. The resolve that Putin has showed. But the thing that he says here about how the Western countries, they're pushing like this LGBT agenda especially on a lot of the poorer countries, the developing countries around the world. I know that in the Philippines, they have a renewed push for this sexual orientation and gender identity and expression bill. I saw that the Department of Education reiterated its gender responsive basic education policy. And this defines gender as something that is quote unquote socially constructed, and that somebody's gender identity may not correspond with the sex assigned at birth. So the reason I want to highlight this, because I don't know if Filipinos are really aware how extreme this issue has gotten in the US and in other Western countries. Like what they're doing to children it's abominable. I don't know if any of you are that well informed on it, but I can talk a little bit about it. I've done a lot of research on this issue. I followed it for a while. I could probably talk for an hour or more on this topic, but I'll just say a few things, kind of like a general overview. That I think that the ideology behind what they call the LGBT movement is, and what it teaches about what it means to be male and female, is incompatible and irreconcilable and antithetical to Christian anthropology. You know, and I'm not just talking about Christianity here, but I would assume that the same view of man and woman is the same in the other Abrahamic traditions as well, for Jews and Muslims, you know, like what it says in the book of Genesis, right, about man and woman being created in the image of the Creator. And of course, it's important to distinguish, you know, the LGBT movement from people who, you know, they might be attracted to the same sex, or they might have gender dysphoria, right? Of course, people like that, they have a right to live free of harassment and violence and discrimination, just like everybody else. But that's different from the LGBT movement, which is really being pushed right now in a way that goes together with the Great Reset and the Malthusian degrowth agenda that's being pushed. Okay. So for example, I have some slides here that you guys can see on the screen. So what do I think this is all about? I think that you know, the oligarchs that run the world are criminals. You know, they're the biggest criminals in the world. And if you know anything about the criminal mindset, the criminal psychology, criminals think like predators. And, you know, what does a predator do? Like a lion or a wolf, right? When it's hunting, the predator looks for the gazelle or the deer that is the weakest and the most vulnerable. So you see a lot of this in the culture about like to demasculinize men, right? You know, to you know, say that, you know, if you act masculine, it's kind of toxic. Toxic masculinity is what they say. That, I believe, is an agenda that will, you know, so it's a way to allow the predators to make the men weaker so they can prey upon the more vulnerable of the population, like women and especially children. And that's why they're brainwashing kids, you know, so men, you know, and you can see this a lot with the way the culture, you know, a lot of young men today, they're addicted to things like video games and pornography and all kinds of degenerate stuff. And, you know, it prevents them from, you know, acting like protectors of society. They're brainwashing kids to take these puberty blocker drugs and to get sex reassignment surgery. They have gender clinics in the US to change the sex of kids now, or to change, you know, their genitals. And it's like a new eugenics. It's a way to sterilize large numbers of the younger generation. And I think the culture war is also like a class war. It's a way that the upper classes can prey upon, you know, the middle and the lower classes. It destabilizes the family structures, and, you know, it creates a demoralization in society.
Okay, Miguel.
Yeah.
Miguel, you don't have a picture. You don't have a video. Is that done on purpose, or are you don't want to show us your face, or what?
Yeah, if that's all right.
Okay. No, I just wanted to let you know first. Nothing to fear. Nothing to fear about us here, because we're all like-minded here. Exactly what you have been saying. No, we have been bringing this out at one time or another. No, and let's start off with Putin. I think Putin is a very wise man. He's a morally courageous man. No, and he truly is the leader right now of the free world, no? Or de facto leader of the free world. No? And the rest of them, like Biden and the rest of them in the globalist group, the NATO and so on and so forth, are out to provoke him into a war. And likewise, Xi Jinping is a morally upright person. No?
Yes.
The media, they look at communist China as communist and the usual demonization. No? And same thing with Putin. But everything that you have said, all the way up to, I allowed you to say, because because we agree. No. There is nothing that we have not agreed with what you were saying. No. We know what is happening in the United States. We have referred to it prior to your entry into the Zoom. No?
Mhm.
We referred to it as a completely it started to be a decadent society, and it's all moving towards an explosion of sorts. No? Economic downturn is there, and probably a massive breach of the so-called global financial system. Now, this is all leading towards a major confrontation when the so-called groups of the globalists are confronted by other countries led by Russia and China. But although we know that is where we're going, although we can see that was happening, there are certain things here in the Philippines that we are not able to do, and except take a position. The position that we have been getting our president to do is not this policy of we are a friend to all and an enemy of none, no? But to take a position for world peace and to move towards making suggestions so that we will veer away from war. As you know, here in the Philippines, I presume that you're a Filipino, but live in the United States. No? But you know, Taiwan is just a stone's throw away from us. And Taiwan, before the U.S. had already acceded to a one nation, two systems policy of China with regard to Taiwan. But now they are reversing that. They aim to use Taiwan as a Ukraine, and they're insisting on trying to deliver arms to Taiwan. Xi Jinping had already given the warning that the moment they do that, then it is a declaration of war against China, and that China will be at war with the U.S. No? So we are there. It's imminent. No? But while it is imminent, there's certain things here, however, that we need to do. No? It is to correct the mindset of our people. Let them understand that there is such a thing as depopulation. No? Let them understand that there is such a thing as a destruction of a society from being sovereign. No? That sovereignty is a principle that we want to uphold, no? And that we will not be slaves of anyone, no? Especially the United States, who want to use us in case there is a war with China. You will see a lot of surrogates here in the Philippines thinking along those lines. They do not mind being surrogates of the U.S. They have even gone to the step of announcing to the Secretary of Defense of the United States that in case there is war with China with regard to Taiwan, we will side with the U.S. This is a statement made by the acting Defense Secretary of the Philippines, but it was not it was not authorized. Now, considering that it was not authorized, you would think that the very next day he should be fired. The sad thing is the president had kept quiet about that statement. So all of these things are being discussed. Right now, we are discussing this, but it's good that you brought this out because I am glad. Then you're in good company here, Miguel, so you don't have to hide your face. And hello to you, and we can continue discussing this not just this evening, but every week, because we're on Zoom every week using the same detail. What do you call this? Address. No? Yeah, Miguel, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah. Yeah. I actually think that, you know, there is, you know, all the talk of World War III and you know, the financial blowout and everything, but when you read a speech like Putin's, you can see that there is a lot of reason for optimism, you know, in the world, despite, you know, the grave crisis that we have. That's why I said it's providential that Putin is the president of Russia during this time.
Well, the fact that Putin is in control, and he's got the resources, he's got his oil, and so on and so forth, and the rest of the U.S. and the NATO and all of their cohorts are still trying to maintain their hegemonic hold on the world. No? And if they can't do it using financial economic policy, then they will do it militarily. And we have to face that very strong and imminent possibility. Putin has already talked about nuclear reaction to what NATO is going to be doing. Everybody is now preparing. North Korea has just in 2 weeks had tested seven intercontinental ballistic missile tests. So what's up? Everybody seems to be preparing for war. And it's really something that we should be very wary of. Of course, everybody knows that the nuclear war might be a war that ends present civilization the way it is. We don't know how many will be surviving it, but definitely we're going to have to go back to the so-called drawing board as to how to rebuild our countries and our lives if nations still existed. By that time, I am sure countries and nations will have disappeared. So, and like you said, I'm hopeful. Of course, we have our proposals as to what economic policy or economic programs can be instituted, especially those that are in the principle of the Bretton Woods Agreement, wherein we will be rationalizing and moving away from the floating exchange rate system, which is operated and controlled by the banking oligarchy, and move towards sovereignty of the currencies and the basic principles that were declared in the Bretton Woods Agreement. That there will be no economic intervention in the countries. There will be no things like what's this? Overcharge interest rates going way up. What do you call this? Forget the term. But you can't charge interest way up the way things are happening now. You have to maintain it within the levels agreed on by the countries, and that investments must not be investments will be allowed to go on a long-term investment structure, so that capital can be generated to a 20, 30-year, 40-year period, rather than the way it is now, that capital is only for 1 to 3 years, so that no industries can be generated that way. All of these things can be done as the better economic order, a more just and fair economic order. That was what the Bretton Woods Agreement was until the financial oligarchy destroyed it in 1971 and pushed the world into a floating exchange rate system. And that time was the period and controlled by the financial oligarchs. As you know, these super banks, that control the central banking system of the world. We want that to push through, but at this point, the ones holding on to the bottom are that of the U.S. and that of Russia and other countries, and we're not in a position to influence them at this point. But we have to look for a way how to survive it. We have to look for a way to survive in case there is a conflict. If we can't all survive it, we must look for a way that most of us can survive. As a nation, as a people. Individually, people can start digging holes for themselves, maybe, I don't know. But as a people, it may, for all you know, it can be done as long as, and let the missiles fly over us and not on us. So that's Cathy.
Okay, Sir Butch, it's already 8:53 na po ng gabi at patuloy pa rin po kayong nanonood dito sa ang Ating Katipunan program. At sabayan po ninyong napapakinggan sa pamamagitan po ng radyo sa 558 po sa talapitan po ng inyong mga radyo. Magbabasa po tayo ng text message dahil napakarami po rin natin mga comment, Professor Butch.
Sige.
Okay. So it's time to read the text messages sent by our listeners. Their opinion does not necessarily reflect our own, but we reserve the right to read them to the public in the interest of freedom of speech. Okay, we have first text. Wait lang. Hindi ko siya nakikita. Dali lang, sir. Ayan. From Virgilio Villanueva, first Jose Aquino. Yan. First to like, sabi niya gano'n. And Jose Aquino watching and listening here from the city of Makati siguro to. And from Frank G. Good evening, Prof. Good evening, Professor Butch Valdes po. At mula kay Adrian Abuyuan, good evening po, Professor Butch. Yan, magandang gabi sa lahat po ng bumabate. At mula kay mga Goy Bislig, okay lang po, Putin will let China, fix that bridge in no time. Hindi ko masyadong maintindihan yung And Cesar Soberano, good evening, Sir Butch, Sir Itos. At mula kay Jerry Chua, good evening, everyone. Sooner pati made, baka imported na din. Nako. At mula kay Patricia Mirasol, sabi niya, choppy audio ni Mr. Fausto. Yan nyo po, binanggit na po natin and sa susunod po mag-imbisita natin siya. At mula kay Luis Gerald, may problema po ang live video kaya tiis mo na kayo sa audio. Okay, at mula kay Dennis Estabal, para nga pong nasa economic limbo ngayon ng buong mundo. Para po tayo nakalutang sa ere in terms of the world economy. Parang yung mga bansa nag-aantayan lang, baka po nasa plano nila yan para magutom ang mga Pinoy, world depopulation. Yung ibang government din po sa ibang bansa, inaatake rin yung sektor ng agriculture gaya ng ginagawa nila sa mga farmers sa Netherlands at US. At mula kay Loteng Bondok, magandang gabi. Good evening po. Mula kay Felix Abila, good evening po. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. At muli kay mga Goy Bislig, Singapore, Hong Kong, Guam, these cities are relying on importation and that makes them environmentally clean country. Ganon. At mula kay Franz Ayelin, ako, may 3 hearts po siya. At mula kay Algo, good day Butch and to all. Hope your food security advocacy will be heard in all corners of the current administration. Thanks. Ayan. Like in US, there is also a swamp cabinet member within the Philippines government. At Jerry, may narinig na ganun rin suggestion like he commented from a newly elected congressman or party list who was guest from DWIZ. I just forgot the name. Sana game changer ang maupo sa bawat ahensya ng government services like General Bantag ng Bucor. Okay? At mula kay Jerry Chua, may mag-monitor sana and mag-program ng farm products pag-schedule ng tanim sa iba't ibang area para di mag-oversupply pag-harvest season. Suggestion yan ni Jerry Chua. At mula kay Teresa L, at a very basic level, people can start backyard or plant pot gardening by everyone. Easy to grow, at least vegetable there. Here in the US, many are homesteading, growing their own foods now. Nakakarating ba yung mga mahalagang discussion ninyo kay PBB? Pati na si Aimee, parang walang impluensya kay PBB. At mula kay Algo, Butch, hope you could have an audience with the President, including the Vice President, and thanks to all those who love to see our local food agriculture producers in the Philippines to grow to self-sufficiency. Muli kay mga Goy Bislig, the name itself, Miguel, basig bayot na siya. At mula kay Richie Sento Marcelo, ano po masasabi ninyo sa SIM card at national ID registration? Kasi nabanggit ito noon sa CCH Live na may gampanin ito sa mga 5G towers. Saka ano rin ang masasabi nyo sa kilusan ng Q at white hats? Noon pa man daw nila sinasabi na kumikilo sila na maglalabas sila ng mga ebidensya na mga nadakip at naparusahan na deep state entities, etc. Ngunit 3 taon nang lumipas pati sa pandemya na nasasabi na ng ibang tao na wala pa rin daw nangyayari. Okay? So, meron pa ba tayong mga texters dyan? At marami pong salamat sa ating pong technician, Professor Butch, kay Ver Archivido, at syempre sa ating technical side, sa ating home studio, sa DZXL. Maraming salamat po kay si Ray yata ang ating technician ngayon sa studio. At syempre sa nangangasiwa ng transmitter ng DZXL, maraming salamat po. Professor Butch?
Yes. Okay, nandito naman tayo. So we'll have to say thank you. Sa ngalan po ng ating mga katipon dito sa ating katipunan at sa magagaling na staff ng DZXL Radyo Mo Nationwide, kami po ay pansamantalang nagpapaalam at nagpapasalamat na sinamahan niyo kami ngayon, ang ora de peligro ng ating bayan at ng buong mundo dito po sa ating katipunan. Hanggang sa linggo pong muli mga katipon, 7 to 9 p.m. Ask Butch anything. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you. Next Sunday. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Itos. Thanks, everyone in Zoom.